In the heart of the South Caucasus, a single railway has quietly redefined the connection between east and west. The Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, stretching across 3 countries, is more than steel and sleepers. It is a symbol of regional cooperation, modern engineering, and centuries of trade that have long flowed through these rugged mountains. But how did this railway come to be? Why does it matter today? And what does it mean for the flow of goods, energy, and people across Eurasia? To understand the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, we must first look at geography. Azerbaijan sits on the western edge of the Caspian Sea. Georgia stretches between the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains. And Turkey connects the region to Europe. For decades, freight and passengers traveling between the Caspian and European markets relied on complex, often slow routes through multiple countries, or on maritime shipping through the Caspian and the Bosporus. The idea of a continuous overland route linking these countries is not new. Historically, the Caucasus has been a bridge for empires, traders, and civilizations. The Silk Road once connected China to Europe through this region, and Soviet-era railways further strengthened these connections, although they were fragmented and oriented around Moscow. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, many of these transport networks deteriorated. Trade routes became longer and more complicated, creating a bottleneck for goods moving from Central Asia to Europe. Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey recognized a shared opportunity. By building a modern, continuous railway line, they could cut transit times, boost trade, and strengthen regional ties. The Baku-Tbilisi-Kars Railway, often abbreviated as BTK, was conceived in the early 2000s, with construction starting in earnest in 2007. It stretches roughly 826 kilometers, linking Azerbaijan's capital Baku on the Caspian Sea to Kars in eastern Turkey, passing through Tbilisi in Georgia. Importantly, it bypasses Armenia, providing a direct connection for freight and passengers. From a technical perspective, the railway is remarkable. It traverses mountains, valleys, and river systems, requiring dozens of bridges, tunnels, and reinforced embankments. In Azerbaijan, engineers strengthen sections along the Caspian coastline and the foothills of the Greater Caucasus. In Georgia, the railway passes through the rugged Liki Range, demanding careful surveying and construction. Finally, in Turkey, new tracks were laid to connect with the existing national railway network, ensuring seamless integration to Europe. One of the key innovations of the project is the handling of different railway gauges. Azerbaijan and Georgia use the Russian 1,520mm gauge, while Turkey uses the standard 1,435mm gauge. To manage this, the BTK incorporates dual-gauge tracks at key transfer points and modern transshipment facilities, enabling freight to move smoothly across borders without long delays. The railway officially opened in 2017 for freight, with passenger services beginning later. Since then, it has carried millions of tons of cargo annually, including metals, chemicals, grains, and containers. Analysts note that BTK reduces transit times between Baku and Istanbul from nearly 2 weeks via maritime routes to just 5 or 6 days, a dramatic improvement for logistics companies and traders. Economically, the railway is transformative for all 3 countries. For Azerbaijan, it strengthens export capacity, diversifies trade routes, and complements its energy pipelines, such as the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan oil pipeline. For Georgia, it reinforces Tbilisi's role as a transport hub and creates jobs in logistics and port management. For Turkey, the railway extends connections to the Caspian region and Central Asia, aligning with its goal of being a regional transit and trade center. The BTK Railway also plays a role in the so-called Middle Corridor, a growing trade route that links China to Europe through Central Asia, the Caspian Sea, and the South Caucasus. The corridor offers an alternative to the traditional northern route through Russia and the southern maritime route via the Suez Canal, adding resilience to global supply chains. In this way, BTK is not just a regional project, it is part of a broader strategy connecting continents. Beyond economics, the railway has a symbolic dimension. For decades, The South Caucasus has seen political conflicts, territorial disputes, and disrupted transport networks. The BTK demonstrates that cooperation and planning can overcome geographic and historical challenges, providing a tangible example of integration in a region often portrayed as divided. The construction of the railway was not without challenges. Mountainous terrain, seismic activity, and extreme weather required advanced engineering solutions. Workers labored under harsh conditions to lay tracks across steep slopes and through deep tunnels. New stations, bridges, and transshipment yards were built to handle the expected freight volumes. In many areas, local communities saw both disruption and opportunity as construction brought jobs, training, and investment. In addition to freight, the railway has gradually opened to passenger service, enhancing mobility for residents and tourists alike. Travelers can journey from Baku to Kars, experiencing diverse landscapes and cultures along the way, from the Caspian's flat lowlands to Georgia's lush valleys and Turkey's Anatolian plateaus. International observers highlight BTK as a model of multi-country infrastructure collaboration. Unlike projects that stall due to politics or funding gaps, this railway was completed through joint investment, planning, and clear agreements. It underscores the importance of diplomacy and shared economic vision in regions with complex histories. In recent years, trade volumes have steadily increased. Container trains now depart from China's western provinces, travel through Kazakhstan to the Caspian Sea, cross via ferry to Baku, and then continue through BTK to Europe. This creates new opportunities for logistics companies and industries in all three countries. The railway also complements other infrastructure projects, like ports on the Caspian Sea and new highways in Turkey, forming an integrated transport network that spans continents. BTK is not only about economics. It represents connectivity, human effort, and the enduring relevance of the South Caucasus as a bridge between East and West. Engineers, planners, and workers invested decades of effort to make a vision practical, overcoming natural barriers and political complexities. Looking forward, experts predict expansions and upgrades. Increased freight capacity, modern signaling systems, and improved border handling procedures are planned to accommodate growing demand. The railway could play a key role in energy transport, container shipments, and regional integration, strengthening the South Caucasus as a vital corridor in global logistics. The story of BTK is also about lessons learned. It shows how infrastructure projects require careful planning, coordination among nations, and a long-term perspective. Trade, diplomacy, and engineering must align to create lasting impact. It also reminds viewers that transport networks are about more than moving goods. They're about connecting people, ideas, and economies across borders. For ordinary people, the railway has tangible benefits: faster shipments of goods, access to new markets, and opportunities for employment. Freight companies save time and costs, regional economies gain investment, and travelers can move more freely across borders. In short, a single railway has ripple effects that extend far beyond the tracks. The Baku-Tbilisi Kars Railway also illustrates the broader theme of infrastructure shaping geopolitics. When trade routes change, power balances shift. When countries cooperate on shared projects, they create incentives for stability and mutual benefit. BTK embodies both a functional, profitable, and symbolic connection across three nations. It is also a story of continuity. The South Caucasus has always been a crossroads of empires and trade routes. From the Silk Road caravans to the Soviet railway networks, connectivity has been central to the region's history. BTK is the latest chapter in this long tradition, a modern railway linking continents in ways ancient traders could only imagine. Yet, like all ambitious projects, the railway depends on ongoing cooperation. Border procedures, customs regulations, and scheduling must be continually coordinated. Maintenance and expansion require sustained investment. And all stakeholders must continue to prioritize safety, reliability, and mutual respect. In essence, the Baku-Tbilisi Kars Railway demonstrates how geography, engineering, and diplomacy intersect. It turns natural obstacles into opportunities, mountains into passages, and borders into bridges. As you watch trains pass along the BK line, remember that this is more than infrastructure. It is the story of human ingenuity, vision, and the persistent drive to connect distant lands. It reminds us that even in regions with complex histories, practical solutions and collaboration can create pathways for progress. Whether you are interested in logistics, trade, geopolitics, or engineering, the Baku-Tbilisi Kars Railway offers lessons about planning, investment, and the transformative power of connectivity. And as always, while this video provides a factual overview, it's important to research further for yourself. Explore multiple sources, read up on the history, engineering, and economics, and consider the broader context of infrastructure projects like BK. Because every large-scale project has layers that go beyond what any single story can capture. Thanks for watching. Will you ever take this railway?